floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. So glad to be here and hope you enjoy your lunch and also enjoy the conversation during the lunchtime. My name is Stephen Lee from KUS Group. Last year, I also have joined this conference and have a chance to introduce about our solutions for the heavy-duty trucks, like the tank system and also our integration solutions. And this year, my topic is about the tank design and also quality management for the light-duty vehicles for BSCs. Hope for you can enjoy this presentation, and outside we also have a booth. We show most of our samples or products here. So if you have time, you can also come to our booth to ask for the questions. Do you have any? This is my. Sorry. So before my presentation, I would like to use several minutes to introduce our company, who is KUS Group, and what's the main products or service we supply to the market. KUS Group established in 1984. We created the first global reed switch level sensor for the level sensing product. And firstly, our product is used for the marine application for the level and the fuel level sensing. And then we also supply our products to the commercial vehicles. In 1990s, our first fuel level sensor with multi-function we supply to heavy-duty truck. The first customer is a Volvo truck, and start from them. Most of the European truck OE, like Mercedes-Benz, also MAN, Scania, Iveco, they already start to use our fuel level sensor. And this also gives us the chance when the Euro 4 regulation come, all these truck companies, they come to us, ask for the AdBlue level sensor. So in 2003, we created the first worldwide AdBlue level sensor for the heavy-duty trucks. And start from then, we also provide more products for the AdBlue side, like AdBlue tanks, AdBlue nozzles, and also some components for the supply module. These are the main products from our company. The main products, first of all, is AdBlue level sensor. Right now, we have more than 3,000 different types of AdBlue sensors supplied to global market. And this year, we will supply about 3 million pieces of AdBlue sensor for global truck, bus, and also off-road applications. And second one is AdBlue tank. This is also our main product, and this AdBlue tank we also supply a lot of market. Right now, this year we will also produce more than 1 million pieces of tank for different applications, and also for the fuel level sensors, other products like pressure sensor, temperature sensor, and also gauge. So for the customer side, typically we work with most of the OE globally. And for the on-road side, the top two customers, one is Daimler Group, and also the second one is Volvo Group, including Daimler India and also Volvo India. In India, besides Daimler and Volvo, we also work with Tata Motor and also Mahindra, Asia Leland, and Force Motor, and other lot of OEs. Besides the on-road side, we also cooperate with a lot of off-road OE like Caterpillar, John Deere, and also Hitachi in different regions. And we also work with their engine company to supply the AdBlue products, both for the engine company and also for different system company like Bosch or Cummins or Continental. So back to my main topic, the tank design for the light-duty vehicles. As we know, for the light-duty vehicle market in Europe, more than 50% of the passenger car they use diesel motor, and the situation is also similar in India. We also have a lot of diesel engine vehicles in India for the passenger car side. So when Europe come to Euro 6 stage, they also introduced the SCR system for the passenger car and also other light-duty vehicles. Start from Euro 6. When they first use this kind of system, the original AdBlue consumption is very low. Like 1 liter AdBlue can last for more than 1,000 kilometers. But because of the Volkswagen Dieselgate problem, there is a new regulation come out for the RDE requirement. So after RDE requirement for different stage, all this AdBlue consumption will increasing a lot. Original like 1 liter per 1,000 kilometer, and right now maybe 2 liter or 2.5 liter for 1,000 kilometers. So this bring a lot of challenge for the passenger car. If you have to make sure the refilling frequency for the AdBlue, you have to enlarge your AdBlue tank. But for the light-duty vehicle, especially for the passenger car, because the space is very limited, it's very difficult to have a bigger tank on the vehicle. So how to save the space on the system is very important. So for the light-duty vehicle, especially for the passenger car, there is a lot of integration solutions. Like for the heavy-duty truck, typically the supply module is separate on the chassis or other place. But for the light-duty vehicles, mostly they will integration of this AdBlue supply module inside of the tank. And this will save a lot of mounting space and also a lot of space can for the AdBlue liquid. So for this kind of integration in the market, they have two type of supply module. One is locking the supply module on the bottom of the tank. Another one is use welding, hot plate welding, the supply module on the bottom of the tank. Both to have both advantages and also disadvantages. For this locking type, if the locking area, the strength and also the dimension tolerance is not good control, there might be have some leakage after a long time operation. So how to make sure there is no leakage is a challenge for this kind of design. But for this design, the advantage is this supply module can be disassembling when you do the service work. So this also have a lot of application in Europe. Another one is use the welding type to weld the supply module on the bottom. But for this one, you cannot do the service work. If there is something wrong with the supply module or with other sensors inside of the module, you have to replace the whole unit, including the tank, the supply module. It's a very high cost. So for this kind of application, the challenge is how to do the service work. But the advantage is that for this kind of design, it's very good to control the leakage problem. So for this, also in Europe, a lot of customers use this. In Europe, because the market situation is different from emerging markets, like in China or in India, we face a lot of like AdBlue suppliers. Some is qualified, some is not so qualified. So the AdBlue cleanliness is the main challenge for this kind of application. If the cleanliness is very poor during long time use, the filter inside of the pump will be get a lot of problem, and the refilling charge will be very high. So how to make sure the cleanliness of the AdBlue is also very important for the BS6, especially for this passenger car or light-duty vehicles. And besides these two solutions, in the market for some of the light-duty truck or the minivans still have OE choose the standalone supply module type. This supply module also mount in not inside of the tank, maybe outside of the tank or on the chest, different options. But for this one, for some of the passenger car, maybe you don't have enough space to mount this. But for light-duty vehicles, like light-duty truck, minivans, may have this space. So some of the OE also choose this type. And today we also have another integration pump system. This concept comes from the fuel tank. We know that for the fuel tank, also the fuel pump, the fuel feeding pump is inside of the tank, but not directly mount on the bottom or weld on the bottom. We integration this feeding pump together with our level sensor. So this is also a solution for the light-duty vehicles in China right now. Maybe in India for future, we can also have this kind of concept. This kind of solution can be do the service work, easy to replace this sensor unit or even some of the components. We can do the service like the filters or the valve or other components. We can do the service. You don't need to change the whole unit. So this is also one option for the light-duty vehicles. So for the tank side, how to use the AdBlue liquid as much as possible is also very important. So we have to reduce the unusable volume on the bottom of the tank, but in the same time we have to make sure during running, like under certain angle, still the liquid can cover the pickup port, like this pickup port even under 70 degrees. Here we still need to have liquid on this area. So when we get a project, we also need to do a lot of analysis for the tank size. And another concern is about the refilling. Because for the AdBlue during very low temperature, I don't think India will face so much problem, but in other regions like Europe or China or Russia, in cold area, if you refill too much of the liquid inside of the tank, the urea during low temperature will be frozen, and this frozen will have expansion for the ice, and this will create a very high pressure to the tank. And if you don't control this refilling volume correctly, the tank system will be damaged by this kind of ice. So typically for our design, we have to make sure there is at least 10% of the expansion space after refilling the tank. In the market, there are two refilling methods. One is use the machine to refill the tank. Another one, people also refill this by manual way. Even in Europe, till now, for the passenger cars, still not so many refilling machines for the passenger car. In Europe, only like German have more than 100 stations to have the machine to refill the passenger car. Most of the people will use manual way to refill the AdBlue tank. So during our design, we have to make sure the manual way refilling and also the machine refilling, there is still at least 10% of the space for expansion. So we have a lot of design for this. First of all is the air vent port location. It's very important, and we also have another air vent control to use the mechanical way to control the liquid level. For the light-duty vehicle, especially for the passenger car, it's not like heavy-duty vehicle. Heavy-duty vehicle, we can directly fill the tank. But for the light-duty vehicle, typically the tank is inside of the vehicle. So we have to have a feeding tube. This feeding tube sometimes is very long. So we will have a lot of connection design for this. And sometimes this feeding tube is also very close to the heat area, like the exhaust cap tube. So we will have some aluminum foil to protect this feeding tube from the very high temperature. Another important thing is that after refilling, when the vehicle stopped on certain angle, the liquid cannot go back to the refilling tube. If the liquid can go back to the refilling tube in very cold temperature, inside of the tube will also frozen, and this frozen is very difficult to thaw in because typically there is no supplier will have electrical or other heating on the feeding tube. So for this design, we have a control gate. When refilling, you can open this gate, but when stopped, this will close to prevent the liquid to go back to the feeding tube. And for the feeding port, different type of vehicle have different section. For the passenger car, typically the feeding port is close to the diesel feeding port. Because for the tank, like AdBlue tank, the fuel tank typically is very close. So if you can put this together during you refill the AdBlue, you can also in the same time refill the diesel oil. So this is a very convenient design for the passenger car. And for some of the vans, like the Mercedes-Benz Vans Sprinter, one original design for this kind of vehicle, they select to refill the tank in the engine cabin. Because when design this kind of vehicle, the AdBlue consumption is very low in Europe. So the refilling frequency is almost equal to the engine oil change frequency. So the service station can do the service at the same time by refilling the AdBlue or change the engine oil at the same time. But later, because of the RED requirement, more and more refilling frequency for the light-duty vehicles. So right now, most of the new vehicles, they also put this refilling port together with the fuel tank port. For the tank fixation, there are also different types of fixation. Some use the belt. You can use soft material or hard material to mount this tank on the bottom of the chest. Or you can also use the bolts to directly mount. But this tank is typically made by injection molding tank. Injection molding tank can directly mold this mounting structure. Or you can also use the bracket to hold this tank on the bottom. noise is also another problem for the passenger car. Some of the passenger car customers, they are very sensitive to the noise. They have very high requirement. So how to reduce the noise inside of the tank is also a challenge for the light-duty vehicle or passenger car. Typically, for this kind of design, we will have the damping structure. On the bottom of the tank, we will have some damping structure to reduce such sloshing during the movement, and this will help to reduce the noise a lot. Another solution is for the heating. We know for the supply module, typically they have different options. Some they have like electrical heat on their module. But for some of the big tanks, like if the tank is more than 20 liters or even bigger for the light-duty truck, this electrical heat is not enough. We have to add additional heat. So for some of the application around this supply module, we can also supply our heating module. This heating module can be by coolant tube, or we can add additional electrical heat. For this kind of solution, this feeding pump, we can directly to use the AdBlue, the coolant water to store in the tank. So these are some CAE analysis for the frozen process and also thawing process. We will do a lot of analysis to make sure the thawing performance is good enough, and also during frozen process there will be create a lot of pressure in certain area. So we will also check which is a weak point during the frozen process, especially for the passenger car business. Besides this integration solution, last year I also showed this page. For this integration, these are mainly for the heavy-duty truck. For the heavy-duty truck, we can also integration the supply module with our level sensor. But this supply module typically is a big size, and for the heavy duty is enough space. For the light duty, besides this one, like this one just mentioned, it's also a good solution. So inside of this unit, we can have a lot of function. One is the level, AdBlue level sensing, AdBlue temperature sensing, and also coolant heat. The DCU module can combine together, and also AdBlue pickup, air wave, the feeding pump, also filter. For BS6, we can also add quality sensor on the bottom of this unit. So this unit can integration a lot of functions. So use such concept, we can reduce a lot of mounting space, and also we can reduce a lot of connections. We don't need so many connections between the supply module and the sensor, and a lot of function can integration together. The maintenance is also very easy to do the service, and the key factor is the cost reduction. This is much cost optimized, and also the total weight is very low for the weight. So this is also one of the solutions we have. So come to the quality management. As we know, for the BS6 is like very equal to Euro 6. For Euro 6 and also in China for China 6, typically for the AdBlue quality, there is a OBD requirement. You can use quality sensor to directly check in the urea quality, or you can use log sensor to calculate the urea quality. both way can achieve the target, but use log sensor to calculate is very complicated, and you have to make sure your engine and after treatment system work very properly. Otherwise, there will be a very big tolerance on the result. So in the market, most of the people, the OE people, they select the quality sensor to directly checking the urea concentration. And this will do a lot of help. First of all, we'll avoid any misrefilling. Like in a lot of emerging markets, the driver or the end user, they don't know too much about the AdBlue. So use this kind of quality sensor can avoid a lot of damage to the system. If they refill diesel or coolant water or other liquid to the tank, AdBlue tank, in several seconds we can detect the wrong signal and can give a signal to the OBD and can avoid the AdBlue pumping system stop to pump. Another one, you can also find which AdBlue liquid supply is not so qualified. In China, right now in the market, there have more than 1,000 AdBlue suppliers in the market. Some is very qualified, some is not. During the application, we found sometimes the urea concentration is only like 20% or 24% in the market. And this will create a lot of problem for the China 6 or BS6 because such low concentration will bring a lot of problem for the NOx level. So how to make sure the concentration is okay is also very important. And if the end user is trying to treat this system, add some water or other liquid to the system, we can also identify this liquid and also can do a lot of protection. So for the quality sensor side, we have three principles for the quality sensor. One is optical quality sensor. We use the optical way to check the urea concentration. And this sensor also works many years in the market. Another one is ultrasonic quality sensor. Ultrasonic quality sensor to use the ultrasonic sensor to create the ultrasonic wave and then receive the wave. Because we know the distance in the sensor and also we know the receiving time for the ultrasonic, so we can calculate the transfer speed for the sensor. So if we know the speed, then we can know the concentration. Different liquid and different type of concentration have different this kind of speed. Another one is thermal conductivity sensor. This sensor to use the heat transfer wave to check the urea concentration. For these sensors, we have done a lot of testing, like the bubble test. All the sensor is very sensitive to the bubble, so we have done a lot of design on the mechanical structure and also software to solve this problem. And also the dust test to simulate when the cleanliness of the urea is not so good in the market, our sensor still can work properly. Another one is the soil-in test. This is special for the cold area. Some other tests like a vibration test, the high and low temperature test, the temperature shock test. And every year we done a lot of road tests, like winter tests or the high temperature test together with OE in different locations. For the level sensing, for the heavy duty and also middle duty off-road sites, typically mostly we can use reed switch level sensor. For some of the passenger car application, we can use MR or ultrasonic sensor. This sensor can have very high resolution, but the cost is a little bit higher. So for the market, we recommend most of the application to use ray switch. So come to the summarize. First of all, the integration tank system is a change for the light-duty vehicle, especially for Euro 6, China 6, and also BS 6. And the refilling control and also storing capability is also very important for the system. Some OE also very sensitive to the noise, so noise control is also important. And for the integration side, different ways of integration have different advantages. This depends on what OE select. And finally, the quality sensor is the main choice for most of the OE in the market for China 6, BS 6, and also the Euro 6. So our target is clean air for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lee. An interesting overview of some of the issues around